The RetroTINK 4K launched in late 2023 and has worn the crown of the most powerful gaming scaler ever since. Its wide range of inputs allow you to connect basically every game console, as well as VHS, Laserdisc, or other analog formats that could benefit from CRT emulation and 4K scaling. During its launch, I called it the BVM of scalers, and that stands true on both the good and bad side of things. It really does feel like a premium product whose price matches its performance and manufacturing cost, but that's a really high price that not everyone is willing to spend. Well, lucky for us, the creator Mike Chi has just released a light version of the TINK 4K he's calling the RetroTINK 4K CE, and it's over a third cheaper than the Pro version. Let's check it out. Before we begin, a few disclaimers. First, many people might ask, why do I need a scaler at all, especially if my TV already has analog video inputs, which is a really fair question. I answered this question in detail in a video called Why Retro Consoles Need a Scaler, but the answer is essentially that all flat panel TVs are designed to scale TV and movie content, never classic video games. That video also goes into much cheaper alternatives, including just getting a free CRT, so please go watch that one if you haven't seen it yet. And look, I really hate being that YouTuber that says, go watch another video and watch this one, but I really am just trying to respect your time and not repeat the same things in every video that I do. The next disclaimer is this is not some kind of shady software locking of features. The CE simply has a smaller and cheaper FPGA that's the same speed as the one in the Pro, just with less memory and logic. More on all that in a moment, but I just wanted to stop and make sure I was very clear that the price reflects a hardware difference, not software. The RetroTINK 4K Pro has hardware-based features not included in the CE that help set it apart as the most premium scaler available. And the last disclaimer is Mike sent me a RetroTINK 4K CE in order to make this video, but no one's paying me to make this video. It's not sponsored in any way, and neither are any of my other videos. I will be having an affiliate code for this when it goes on sale in about 2 months, but I also try to use affiliate codes for anything that I talk about. And if something doesn't have an affiliate code, I still talk about it if it's something that interests me, but if it does, I really need to use it. As affiliate codes, as well as Patreon and Floatplane monthly support are the only way this channel can survive. So if that upsets you, go on the forums and post about it. I promise I'm going to read every single one. Anyway, let's jump in. Let's start by quickly talking about what's the same with the CE, and the obvious one is resolution. It still scales whatever you send it up to 4K 60 or 1080p 120, and any other resolution that's equal to or lesser than those if you use custom resolution profiles. Also, it has the same physical inputs as the Pro, which are composite, S-Video, SCART, component video, VGA, and HDMI 1.4. It's also compatible with basically every one of the existing 4K Pros profiles. That means all of the amazing, fully tweaked profiles from Firebrand X, Wobbling Pixels, Kuro, and more will all still work, providing an amazing solution that comes preloaded on the SD card. This even includes all the amazing CRT emulation that really does an excellent job making modern TVs, especially OLEDs, look closer to a CRT. And anytime new profiles are created for either platform, they'll work on both. Another cool bonus is if you select a profile that toggles a Pro-only feature, it'll still work, the CE will just automatically disable the functionality that's not available. And the CE can also accept serial control commands over the VGA port, so it can handle all of the same auto-switching functions that the Pro can. Basically, if you use something like Arthremis's upcoming scalable video switch, you could program which console or device is connected to which input, and the TINK will automatically switch inputs and load the corresponding profile whenever you power on the console. Check out an upcoming video from My Life in Gaming that details the SVS. The CE also has the same time-based correction as the Pro, so it's just as good for people digitizing VHS home videos as long as they're outputting S-Video. So everything I showed in both TINK VHS videos will work the same, with the exception of composite video and inverse telecine. I'll explain that in a bit. Overall, this is the exact same rock-solid software platform using basically the same motherboard, just a cheaper FPGA chip. It's so similar that the base firmware is identical, so it will get all the same updates as the 4K Pro, just missing anything the CE's main processor isn't powerful enough to support. If you'd like more details as to what the 4K Pro could do, please check out my original launch video as well as all the coverage we posted on RetroRGB.com of its extensive firmware updates and all the new features it's received since. But now let's switch gears and take a look at what you miss out on by spending $475 on the CE versus $750 on the Pro. I think for this section, I'll discuss the CE's missing features in order of who I think it'll affect most. Whether any of this stuff matters is completely up to you, but let's take a look. First is the physical device. It's still a quality injection molded shell, just in cool gray instead of black. Also, it's lighter because the smaller FPGA doesn't require as big of a heatsink as the Pro. Next, the remote is a bit cheaper to save cost. It's certainly not some AliExpress junk, and it's fully functional, just not as nice as the Pro's remote. You still have plenty of features already assigned to the buttons, so stuff like resolution switching and the ability to set phase with the press of a button is still available. Speaking of phase, the CE doesn't have continuous background auto phase adjustment. That simply means you'll have to press the auto phase button on the remote each time you feed it a new resolution from a new source. Phase can still be saved to profiles though, so you'd only need to do this once if you use profiles. To be honest, this is a feature most people wouldn't notice or won't mind, but since the Pro does this automatically in the background, I wanted to mention it right away as it technically affects everyone. Pressing the button on the remote or in the menu provides the same auto calibration as the Pro, so you're not missing the performance, you just have to press a button to get it. Next, the CE only has a 2D comb filter for composite video sources, not the 3D comb filter that the Pro has. Generally, people buy a scaler like this for higher-end video signals, but if you watch a lot of Laserdiscs, or maybe have one or two composite video-only consoles mixed in with RGB and component ones, you'll see a difference. It does still have a comb filter though, and it's basically the same as the RetroTINK 5X's 2D comb filter. So composite video won't look bad by any stretch, it just won't look as good as the Pro. One of the things that truly stands out on the 4K Pro is its ability to handle interlaced signals. 480i still looks great on the CE and is definitely a step above the RetroTINK 5X's motion adaptive deinterlacing, but it lacks the advanced sensitivity controls, which means no field offset adjustments or edge adaptive interpolation. Basically, this means early 3D graphics in 480i only titles won't be smoothed out as much as with the Pro. Also, inverse telecine isn't supported, so you can't get a perfect deinterlace from a 30 FPS game or extract a 24p source from a 60Hz video. These are both very cool features, but overall aren't as important as high-quality motion adaptive deinterlacing, which the CE still has. If you'd like more info, the Console Mods Wiki has some great screenshots detailing the differences. The CE still supports all analog video signals via the rear VGA port, but only standard S-Video, so you can't access the enhanced S-Video that the Pro supports. This is mainly used by people connecting consoles that can only output up to S-Video without a mod, like the N64. Don't get me wrong, S-Video still looks good, and the standard mode is what you should be using for video content like VHS anyway, but you won't get the near RGB look that enhanced S-Video provides for many N64 games. One downside for arcade users is there's no rotation support. This won't affect anyone who uses the Tink for game consoles or video sources, but there are a bunch of excellent vertical arcade games. If you love those, the CE isn't for you. The CE also can't handle the current implementation of XBR smoothing. This is something that has the most effect on 720p sources going to 4K. While I like this feature, I haven't found it to be a drastic improvement, but it might be something you'd miss. For the CRT mask emulation, there's no IIR blur support. You'll still get all the amazing masks, you just can't apply the digital blurring that adds an analog smear to the image. I don't think any of the existing CRT emulation profiles use this feature, but I wanted to mention it. Also, you could still soften and blur the image in different ways, just not via IIR blur. Black frame insertion still works for 1080p 120 output, but it doesn't support alpha blending or colored frames. I personally never used those features, so I'm honestly not sure who'll miss them. The CE does still have a Safe for LCDs feature, as well as the ability to do a 35mm simulate mode for 24p sources like Blu-rays. You'll just need to make sure the source is outputting 24p, as there's no IVTC as mentioned before. The CE is also limited to 2048 input pixels. 1080p 60 still works, as do all the super resolutions when outputting direct video via Mister, as long as auto decimate is on, which it should be by default. You just can't send the CE something like an ultra-wide 2560 by 720 resolution. I doubt the average TINK 4K user will have any input resolution issues. Let me know in the comments if I missed something about this, though. So that's it for what's missing. I imagine many people listening might be going, oh, I don't really need any of that, while other people listening might be thinking, whoa, it doesn't have that feature? Well, then I'm definitely sticking with the Pro. And both are perfectly reasonable opinions. Keep in mind that Mike may add a form of those features back into the CE at some point in the future, but it's my opinion that you should make your purchase based on whatever features are available now. While $475 isn't exactly what I would call cheap, it's still over a third cheaper than the Pro and offers all of the same inputs and many of the same features as well. Overall, I think the biggest selling point is the framework. The CE is basically the same thing as the Pro, with some features missing. That means you're still getting a very mature product that's been running stable for well over a year now. And you'll get almost all the same future firmware updates as the Pro, as the code for both is almost the same. You just won't get anything the CE's hardware can't handle. And I need to repeat myself here. There's absolutely zero software locking going on in the CE. If Mike comes up with a firmware feature that'll run on both, then both scalers will get it. Also, the focus of this video was just on the CE versus Pro, nothing else. There's other scalers out there, including ones from Mike, that might fit your budget better depending on your needs, but to address those properly, I need to show why some choices might be better than others, and that definitely requires its own video. In the coming year, I plan on doing a video that'll be a deep dive of all of the different scalers that are available to purchase today, and show you their differences and which one might be better for you, so please keep an eye out for that. Anyway, if you liked this video, please consider subscribing to the channel, and there's plenty of ways to support even more, including ones that are completely free. Clicking on the RetroRGB support page and scrolling down will bring you to the affiliate links that let you buy stuff from Amazon at the exact same price, but we get a small cut. Just click that link before going to your cart to help us out. If you're not super into this stuff, but still feel generous, maybe leave a tip directly through PayPal or Ko-fi. Even the smallest tip is appreciated, and links are on that same page. And if you really rely on info like this, please consider signing up for monthly support services like Patreon and Floatplane. We recently turned off all ads on RetroRGB.com to make the experience better, but there's no way we could have afforded that without amazing monthly supporters. And of course, you could always pick up some merch to support us as well, as we have really awesome hoodies, t-shirts, and a bunch of other cool stuff that you can see right here on the page. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.